Welcome back, everyone. This is using PortfolioVisualizer.com again, one of my favorite tools to see an age-old question that we all love. Which stock is actually better and which has performed better, Apple or Microsoft? There's a lot of bias that you hear and read about, so let's just get straight to the numbers because the numbers never lie. So let's just keep it at 1985, going year to year, the annual returns of both Microsoft and Apple. We're going to put Microsoft in one portfolio and Apple in another portfolio. We're also going to match it against the SPY, which is just another way of tracking the S&P 500 overall as an ETF option of investing in. So yes, we are going to include year to date. We are going to keep the initial investment at $10,000. We're not going to rebalance. Both portfolios are going to hold each of their own stocks over the lifetime. And yes, we are going to display income. Both Apple and Microsoft pay dividends. So let's start out with putting in MSFT for Microsoft, 100%. Portfolio number 2, AAPL for Apple, 100%. And the SPY. Portfolio number 3, 100%. So, the magic button. Okay, so this is something to note. Because of the SPY coming out in February 1993, we actually won't get to see the full timetable of Microsoft and Apple when they initially were public offerings. This is just going to run from January 1994 to September 2020. So it's about 26 years worth of data and analysis to see again which one is the better investment from this time horizon, this time span, year over year, and what is it in the end? Let's see. So as you can see, portfolio number 1, which is Microsoft, the initial investment of $10,000 back again, January 1994, $10,000 was a final balance of about $1.3 million as of September 2020, compound annual growth rate of just about 20%, which is 17% adjusted for inflation. Portfolio number 2, which holds Apple, the initial balance was, or the initial investment, I should say, was $10,000. And as you can see in the same time, Apple, wow, that really blows Microsoft out of the water. That's about 4 to 4.5 times what your investment in Microsoft would have been. So Apple is killing it at about $5.2 million. Compound annual growth rate over 26 years is about 26%. And portfolio number 3, which is the S&P 500, as you can see, it's an ETF version of it, I should say, grew to about $118,000. Nothing to sneeze at, and it's a consistent 9.67%, which makes sense. Warren Buffett always says, why not invest in the S&P 500 when it continuously, every year, given the ups and the downs, will consistently give you, on average, about a 10% return. This speaks volumes because that is just about as accurate as you can be throwing at a dartboard and getting the S&P 500. So obviously these two way outperform the S&P 500, and that is a huge surprise to see just how big Apple really is compared to someone like Microsoft and how far above the overall stock market it is. And that's actually, it is a surprise, but it's also not when you consider that Apple has actually split its stock about 6 or 7 times. Microsoft has not done that many stock splits in comparison to Apple, and they've both been around the same year that they went public in the early 80s. So even though that is a surprise, it's not, because that actually gives investors more of a reason to invest in something like Apple And yeah, I mean, Apple has really diversified its products and has come a long way, especially since the 1990s when it's last time that it really lagged in growth. So this is a really cool chart as well. We can actually see where all of these end up, the three of them, the three dots. And as you can see, at one point, Apple, which is the red line, just boom, right here. Right here is where it doesn't look back. As of April 30th, 2007, it just kind of takes off like a rocket away from Microsoft as far as, competing and being the better investment. And it just keeps going up and up. Obviously, both lines, all three lines, go up and to the right, but really, 2007 is where Apple just completely destroys Microsoft, and that's around the same time when the iPhone originally came out, and that is where even today Apple makes the bulk of its revenue, which is pretty incredible, and you can see how dominant that is. And around the same time, Microsoft, which bought, I believe, Nokia, they do not stand a chance in the phone market, and they just kind of take a back seat for a while. They've kind of come up into their own towards the end here, but you just can't beat Apple. So that's pretty incredible. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little finance video, little portfolio back testing and seeing what stock really was the better investment. And I hope that you do consider giving me a subscription, subscribe to me, and yeah, see you soon.